Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I would be discussing about the DSM. DSM as a subject doesn't need much explanation because we have already covered a video on DSM. But for those who have just joined my channel or viewing this video and does not know much about the DSM, I will be giving a brief introduction what is DSM and in my this video I would be also covering about something about the history of the DSM, how we have evolved, how we started with and right now at what stage we are in. So basically DSM stand for Deviation Settlement Mechanism. Deviation itself means something which you are deviated from your normal routine. What happens basically in order to streamline the whole power supply and demand scenario, each state gives a schedule to a generator, and similarly each state says that or each discom say I would say that I require this much amount of power from a particular generator. And similarly, a generator it also promises to the state that I would deliver this much amount of power. Suppose as a generator, there is a plant of NTPC and it told that it will deliver 500 megawatt of power. But somehow, because of certain reasons, it can't able to deliver 500 megawatt of power. It delivered just 480 megawatt of power for an average 15-minute block. Now, the 20 megawatt deviation which the power generator has done, he is liable to pay a certain penalty. Now this penalty would be both for under injection also for and both for over injection also. Means if you deviate it on the negative side also, if you deviate it on the positive side also. Similarly, let's say a state called Punjab was promised to have a schedule of promised to the benefit that he will draw 7,800 megawatt of power from grid, but somehow because of certain reasons is drawing 8,000 megawatt. So that state is drawing basically 200 megawatt 200 megawatt more of power than it's projected. So on that deviation for each unit, a state as well as generator, whatever the case may be, whomsoever had deviated from its the given frame has to pay a penalty. This penalty comes under the law of DSM. Now, the government has made the DSM or the CRC has made the DSM in order that this will help in streamlining the supply and demand scenario. And with the forecasting models in place, the government believes that the current forecast or the CRC believes that the current forecasting models are sufficient enough that whatever the supply and demand scenario would be, the frequency, if the or I would say, if the supply and demand scenarios are strictly followed, the frequency will stick to 50 hertz. Sorry, but that may or may not be the case. We don't know right now. So, in order to minimize this deviation, the government has put certain penalties. Now, this is the history of how these deviations have deviation charges or have evolved over the time, which I would be covering in my this video. So today I have taken a topic on DSM 2022 because recently in March 2022, the government notified or the CRC notified new DSM laws, which will get effective from coming 5th December 2022. So, in order all my subscribers should know what is actually and how it will impact their businesses. So, I've made these videos on that basis, on that giving them how they should think about it or how they should operate. No, though I would not be giving a suggesting a particular strategy because that would be your business specific. I would be just giving you what is the guideline so that you can understand that concept, how I have to approach. So without wasting much time, let's start with. So to understand the current DSM 2022 and how it is different from the previous, or what are the major changes which have been taken place, we need to study it holistically. So there are basically four things which have happened before before implementation of this DSM. That is the two-part tariff which happened way back. Then comes the ABT tariff structure or UI accounting. Then in 2014, the CRC issued DSM regulations, new DSM regulations, and in 2019, again certain amendments in that regulations have happened, and finally the DSM 2022, which we would be talking about in the coming videos. So let's start with the two-part tariff. In two-part tariff, there are basically two components in which the cost is basically broken off. One is called the fixed charge and another is called the variable charge. The fixed charge is basically is a constant thing, irrespective of whether the plant do the generation or not. The cost it has to bear, and that include basically the O&M expenses, yeah, interest on working capital, interest on loans, salaries of the people who are working there, O&M budget. They are different things. So these are called fixed cost, and so these things come under the fixed cost. And in the variable cost, basically the amount of fuel uh, power plant burnt to generate that much electricity. So in two-part tariff, it has been decided. Suppose there is a beneficiary or there is a plant called A, and it has five beneficiaries. Suppose B, C, D, E, F. Then the proportion in which the energy has been drawn by B, C, D, E, F, in the same proportion they would be allowed, they would be charged the fixed cost as well as the variable cost. So if as a plant, if someone has drawn the major part of the energy, then he has to bear the major part of the fixed cost also. So what are the other things in that? In addition to that, if any generating station generates over and above the required energy, he has been given an incentive. This has been done basically because uh, at that particular period of time there is always a shortage of electricity. So the more that you generate, the better it is for, or better it's for the country or for the states to get the energy, because there is already a shortage of electricity which has been going within the country. Now what happens that because of this, that during the peak time, means when there is a high demand of energy, there was always low frequency, and since the plant has to maintain the PLF, so during off peak times it starts selling energy, it start giving energy or start generating more energy, despite the whether there is a sufficient schedule or not. So in off peak times there is always a more amount of energy which is generated, and in the peak times there is a very less amount of energy, also the amount of energy generated is less. So overall, the plant PLF introduces improves at off peak time, but during the peak times that PLF actually goes down. Now, what this led to? This led to very high frequency during the off peak times and very low frequency during the peak time. And the frequency modulation is in the range of 1 hertz. So that created lot of grid disturbances and load of grid failures also because of this uh, issue. So the government thought, or the CRC thought, now let's revise this thing, and they come up with the new regulations that is called ABT regulations. In ABT based tariff, there is the introduction of three-part tariff rather than two-part tariff, which has been the case earlier. Then also the two part which I have discussed earlier, that is regarding the fixed charge and the variable charge, that has also been broken down, and they are so not broken down, and they are basically method of calculation of these fixed charge and variable charge from beneficiaries has been changed. Now in this three-part tariff, the fixed charge, which is basically based on the amount of generation which a power plant do, or the amount of withdrawal basically a beneficiaries does from the power plant, has been delinked. Now the all the fixed charge will be based on the payable to the generator based on the availability. Since the condition of the country has been changed till yet, now the supply has been adequate. Therefore, the focus is now on the improving the reliability. So therefore, if you have a reliability of it, if you have a reliability, then only you would be entitled to get your fixed charge. If your reliability would be poor, then you would not be entitled to your fixed charge. So the target fix is 85%. That if you have 85% reliability, means if you are declaring your yearly DC as if you are declaring your DC if, or I would say if your DC at the end of the year is 85% of the yearly maximum possible DC, then you would be entitled to get your fixed charge. In the variable cost, which is remains the same, that the amount of coal you have to, or amount the fuel which you consume, you would be charged basis on that, and the beneficiaries which draws that amount of energy from you will be liable to pay that much charge to the generator. Now they introduced a new concept that is called UI interchange. In UI interchange, what happens that each RLDC or each dispatch center or each discom punches a schedule for the generator, that they require that much amount of energy from the generator. Now this sum total of schedule is posted to the generator and given to the generator, that the beneficiaries require this much amount of energy from you. If a generator doesn't give or deviates from its schedule, if a generator doesn't give or deviates from its schedule, then he is liable to pay a UI charge. This UI is called unscheduled interchange. Now the accounting of this UI is done in a separate way, and suppose now let me explain this UI to you first. Suppose as a generator I have been given a schedule of 500 megawatt, but because of the some reasons I have not been able to deliver a 500 megawatt. I am able to deliver a 480 megawatt. So the new 20 megawatt or the deviation of 20 megawatt, I have to liable to pay a charge. Similarly, if I generate more than the schedule, means if my schedule is 500 and I am generating 520 megawatt, then though I will get some money from the grid, but even on that also I have to pay some charge. So this is all in the ABT three-part tariff. Basically there are three components: fixed charge, variable charge, and unscheduled interchange charge. Now initially for ABT tariff, the frequency band is fixed at 50.5 to 49 Hz, but gradually as the things become more and more uh, as the things become more and more tightened, the frequency band has been reduced to 50.2 to 49.7 Hz. Also, there is a capping of 105% for IHGS in a block with respect to DC, and 101% to DC over a day. Means you cannot generate more than the 101% of your declared DC for a day. One more thing which I want to clarify here is that to for the purpose of calculation of this energy, a day has been divided into 15-minute time block. So in 1 hour there would be 4 time block, and in a full day there would be 96 time blocks. So If a average generation, if an average generation of one time block is different or deviated from the schedule which has been given to the generator, then on that difference the beneficiary has the generator has to pay the UI charge. So it's not about the instance, it's about the average of generation during a one time block. Similarly, for other 95 time blocks, this deviation is calculated, and based on that, whether the deviation is positive, means whether the generator will get the money from the grid on based on our generation, or the frequency, or whether this is negative, where that generator underperformed or under generated, the UI accounting is done. So this is all included in the ABT tariff, that is the three-part tariff. I hope it's been clear to you. Since this video been too long, therefore I would be stopping here only. And in my next video, I would be covering on the DSM 2014 part first, and then I would be moving to the DSM 2022 part. So till then, good night, take care, and have a great day ahead. And please subscribe to my channel and like my video. Thank you.